Global Morning News, August 19th, 2025. Good morning. Here is your comprehensive global morning news for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Ukraine diplomacy, a pivotal moment. At the White House yesterday, President Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy alongside a powerful collective of European leaders, including Macron, Merkel, Meloni, Stubb, Starmer, von der Leyen, and NATO's Rutte, in a high-stakes session dubbed a wartime crisis meeting by the BBC. Wikipedia Trump championed progress, stating he expected finalization of security guarantees today. These are envisioned as NATO-style assurances, potentially including peacekeepers and deterrent military aid, though explicitly excluding U.S. boots on the ground. The Kyiv independent Zelenskyy emphasized the need for concrete protection. He mentioned a $90 billion weapons package, heightened drone cooperation, and European-led peacekeeping as safeguards. He affirmed that security guarantees could be finalized within 10 days. The Guardian, yet differences remain. Putin has reportedly agreed to direct talks with Zelenskyy, laying groundwork for what could become a trilateral summit. But opposition within the Kremlin and Russia's insistence on territorial concessions, particularly in Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea, pose major obstacles. Wall Street Journal, European leaders are cautious. Germany's Friedrich Merz insisted a ceasefire is non-negotiable, while Merkel's peers stressed that Ukraine must not be pressured into unreasonable terms. The Star, this remains a once-in-a-generation moment, where Ukraine's fate rests on Ukraine's inclusion, tangible security for its people, and the Western coalition's resolve to uphold it. The Times, Hurricane Erin. Beyond the eye of the storm, Hurricane Erin exploded into a Category 5 storm in record time over the weekend, reaching sustained winds of 160 miles per hour in just 24 hours. New York Post. Although Erin isn't projected to make landfall, its expansive wind field is generating perilous surf, rip currents, and coastal flooding from the Caribbean to the U.S. East Coast. Mandatory evacuations are in effect on North Carolina's Outer Banks. 15 to 20-foot waves could isolate barrier islands for days. New York Post. The storm already wreaked havoc in Cape Verde. Flash floods killed at least 9 people, including children, and displaced around 1,500 residents. The World Bank has pledged $10 million in recovery aid. Wikipedia authorities in Bermuda and Atlantic Canada are also on alert for massive swells midweek. Erin's ripples span continents. Danger without landing. New York Post. Global markets and economics. SoftBank launched a surprise $2 billion investment in Intel, securing a 2% stake aimed at bolstering U.S. chip production. Both companies' shares dropped following the announcement. India Times. In London, policymakers are mulling a new property tax targeting homes worth over £500,000, designed to lower upfront costs but raise long-term ownership expenses. India Times. Asian markets opened mixed. Tokyo dipped 0.2%, while Shanghai, Mumbai, and Bangkok gained modestly. Hong Kong and Sydney trailed. Investors are closely watching the upcoming Jackson Hole Federal Reserve Symposium. India Times European futures rallied around 0.2% amid growing optimism from the Ukraine talks. Markets now believe there's an 83% chance of a U.S. rate cut in September. India Times on Wall Street, the Dow closed slightly lower, while the S&P and NASDAQ stayed steady. Meta slid 2% amid AI concerns, Palantir gave ground, and Palo Alto Networks rose 5% on earnings strength. Global equities remain near record highs. India Times African reports, economy, infrastructure, and development. In Nigeria, President Tinubu has raised GDP growth ambitions to 7% by 2027, up from 3.13% in Q1. Though reforms and subsidy cuts help stability, inflation remains at 22%, a major hurdle. India Times South Africa's lottery industry will be transformed as Sizakaya Holdings won a R$180 billion tender to operate the national lottery and sports pools starting mid-2026. India Times. In infrastructure, Kenya broke ground on Talanta Sports Stadium, a 60,000-seat venue expected to open by December 2025 for AFCON 2027. Regional sporting prestige is rising. India Times. Crime, human interest, and celebrity. Cruise passenger drownings at Celebration Key, Bahamas have triggered an investigation. 2 U.S. tourists aged 74 and 79 died in separate incidents. India Times. In Norway, Crown Princess Metamart's stepson Marius Borg Haijby was charged with 32 offenses, including rape. He faces up to a decade behind bars. The palace has publicly distanced itself, India Times. The world bids farewell to Terence Stamp, the iconic British actor famed for roles in Superman, among countless other films. He passed away at 87, leaving a legacy of cinematic brilliance. India Times in Minnesota, a 53-year cold case closed after fishermen discovered a submerged car containing clues to the disappearance of businessman Roy Benn since 1967. India Times, Sports Briefing, Cricket. Today marks the first ODI between Australia and South Africa in Cairns. Virat Kohli is training in London in anticipation of his international return this October. BCCI unveiled the 2025-26 season, from the Duleep Trophy on August 28 to Women's Interzonal Multi-Day Trophy in April. The International Masters League was won by India Masters. India Times, Basketball. Nigeria secured its 5th consecutive Afro-Basket Women's Championship in Ivory Coast, qualifying for the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup. South Sudan earned bronze in its debut appearance. India Times Soccer. South Africa's MTN 8 tournament is underway. The Orlando Pirates defend their title. 6 games have produced 20 goals so far. India Times. Today's watch points. Will Ukraine's security guarantee deal gain traction? And could a Zelenskyy-Putin meeting pave the path forward? How will Hurricane Erin evolve, and what damage could befall coastal communities? Will Nigeria achieve its 7% growth goal amid inflation? And can South Africa deliver on lottery sector changes? How will markets react to Fed signals, global tensions, and economic data this week?